Hello. Yeah, I don't know what we're doing today, but I figured I'd stream anyway, and then you can kind of let me know, out of all my ideas, what you're most interested in, because I have a lot of ideas about what I could be doing. But I didn't write them down, so whether or not I can remember what I was kind of thinking of doing, that's another question. But I guess making like an end of year TBR was one of them, because there are a lot of books that I keep thinking, oh, I would really like to read that this year. This year is already over halfway done. If I want to read it this year, I really need to get on that. I can also add books to Goodreads. I can check if books on my Goodreads do have like audio adaptations, because that's something that if they don't have audiobooks, they're not going to be prioritized. So that's something that I need to I like when I'm adding a book to my want to read shelf, I don't always check if there's an audiobook. So after the fact, I'll go through and be like, does this have an audiobook? So check if they have audiobooks. Another thing is I've been cross-stitching, and there were a couple different like year-long bookish cross-stitches that I wanted to do based off of like what I was reading, and I haven't really kept up with them at all. They were both giving me a lot of anxiety at the beginning of the year, so I set both of them aside, but now I would like to go into my spreadsheets and make out what, because since they're based on my personal reading, I need to like make sure I have everything written down for what I need to put in as far as stitches, and then I can kind of just stitch away at them. And then I can also do a 2023 wrap up as well. So that's kind of that. I'm just gonna start doing stuff, and then if anyone comes in, we can chat. But if not, that is fine as well, because I know I have been very sporadic on YouTube, and the fact that anybody is still here after like 4 years of absence is kind of ridiculous, and I really appreciate it. Okay, so I think the first thing I'm gonna do is to make a 2023 TBR. Oh. Why is that invalid? Oh, because I already have a 2023 TBR. Well, what the heck is this? Oh, well, I already read you, so you don't need to be on this. That is so funny. I don't even remember making this. And you, I don't really. I don't really care about prioritizing you. I'm just gonna make sure you're on my books to reread shelf. Okay. Whoops. There we go. So what my hope and intention with this 2023 TBR list is that if I kind of make up a shelf now, that hopefully I can, when G releases the prompts for the next Magical Readathon happening in August, that I will be able to mostly pull books from this shelf and knock out a lot of these books. So that is the hope. Oh. So I really enjoyed and read Koala by Danielle Claude earlier this year, aka less than a month ago. But she has other books that she's written, so I am going to add that to my TBR, and because I do want to continue making sure that I'm reading books by authors that I've already enjoyed. So that is excellent. Okay, so I really loved and read Half a Soul and 10,000 Stitches earlier this year, so obviously I would love to read Long Shadow as the next book. So that's definitely a goal of mine, is to get to that book this year. So I'm just going to scroll through and see if anything jumps out to me as oh yeah, I know I want to read. This is for sure one, is that I would love to read the sequel to Courtney Changes the Game, Courtney Friendship Superhero. So I'm going to add that to my 2023 TBR. This is one, did I add the next Deanna Madden? So I don't know. If you have read this, if you've read the Deanna Madden series, I'm very much interested. I don't know if I want to keep going with this series or not. I did really enjoy reading the first book, but I don't know. I also feel kind of okay with stopping where it stopped. So I don't know. I'm gonna have to think about that one, about if I want to keep reading. So I'm not gonna add the second one as of right now. Okay. So whenever this comes out, I definitely want to be reading this, because this first book was so fun. A Novel Disguised, Samantha Larson. So I've added this to my not released shelf, because It's not like on my TBR yet because it's not even like I can't read it yet. So it's not even viable, but this was a really fun book. I really enjoyed it, and the best part about it is that Samantha Larson did not try to make the fashion and choices of the time more palatable for us in our 21st century sensibilities. So I really enjoyed that. So like the main character, because I feel like a lot of times when you're reading historical fiction, a lot of times, even if there is, even if it is historically accurate, and even if like everybody is dressed the way that they actually would have been dressed, or even if they're using like the remedies and stuff that they actually would have been using, a lot of times we see like the main character almost like looking down on those things and being like, well, I don't think that is attractive, or I don't think that's a smart thing, but kind of because we're looking at it from this 21st century lens is like making them, the main character, more palatable to us. And Samantha Larson did not do that, and I loved that. Oh, I guess this is a pen name. Oh. Yes. Okay. Anyway, like straight up, the main character, Tiffany, is like, I'm never gonna get to wear a huge, powdered, fancy, giant wig. That's very sad. And she talks about like all like the lice that were in the wigs and like all this stuff, and how it's just like a little gross, but like it's just a part of the daily wear, and how she like just like loves all of like, she loves the fashion of the time, and she loves the hairstyles of the time and all these things. And then also like she ends up like dressing up as her brother because her brother dies, and so she buries her brother, and just like assumes him because they look very similar. And so she ends up just, when she dresses up as her brother, he like wears a lot of like lead makeup, and he's like very pompous and stuff. And so she just straight up wears lead makeup, and there's nothing like at all coming from the author about like how now we know that's like really fucking horrifying that they were just like putting lead all over their face and absorbing that into their skin. But I mean, they still did it, and so there was like, I just really liked that there wasn't a lot of like modern sensibilities shoehorned into this book. Like it was just like very much grounded in when the book was when the book was set, the place that it was set, the time period that it was set, and it just made it a very like fun reading experience because I didn't feel like I was constantly being pulled out of it by like this character that knows all these things that we know now, but they're just like better than everybody else because they somehow know these things from the 21st century that nobody else knows. Like, anyway, I really enjoyed that. But apparently the second book is gonna be coming out later, so I'm gonna add that. Sorry, that was a big long rant and tangent, but it just made it very fun to read. So if you're interested in at all in historical costuming, it was like super fun to read because she just like loves the way that like the clothing looks and stuff, and wants to like wear the fancy clothes and wants to wear the big wigs and everything, and I just thought that was really fun. Okay, I see a few people just popped in. So what I'm doing right now is that I am kind of scrolling through. I'm going to try to build like an end of year TBR to kind of prioritize reading for the next few months. Obviously the end of the year, because we're already halfway through the year, so I want to. There's all these books that I keep thinking like, oh yeah, I would really like to read that this year. The year is halfway done, so I need to actually get on that if they're gonna be read. So right now I'm kind of just scrolling through, and I'm gonna slowly start adding books to this shelf on my Goodreads, and then hopefully like when the next magical readathon for August, when the prompts come out for that, I can fulfill most of the prompts with books off of this shelf. That is my hope. But also, there's a lot of books that I've read by authors, obviously by authors, but there's a lot of books that I've enjoyed this year by authors that I haven't read before. This was my first book reading that I read by them. And they weren't necessarily parts of series, so I kind of have to like make a conscious effort to remember to like go and look at the author's other books, and see if there's other things I want to read by them, because I want to keep reading by authors that I enjoyed. Yeah, I don't know if I want to read this one. The thing that I really liked about The Starlit Secret to Sensational Afterlife was that it was like paranormal. And so the fact that this one isn't, and it's just like a straight up historical fiction mystery romance type thing, I don't feel like I need to add that to my TBR. Nope. And then a lot of times there's like a book that I really loved and they haven't written anything else, unfortunately. At least no other like published books. Like I'm sure they've written other things, but not published books. Nope. Okay, so I definitely need to add, I'm just going to add this back to my want to read, and then I'm also going to add it to my 2023 TBR because I want to, I'm pretty sure that these are on audio. Let's take a look at that. No, are they not? Gosh dang it. Maybe they're not. Maybe I ran out of the audio, because they did a bunch of these on audio, and now maybe there are. Maybe I'm all caught up. Dang it. So. Oh, so in that case, this should be on my no audio. But I still want it on my 2023 TBR because I'm still working my way. So these are all ones that I've reread in the last, I'd say probably 2 years. So I really do want to finish up reading this series. And I also need to find the last few that I don't own. I should prioritize like tracking down copies of those. Okay, so The Salt Grows Heavy by Cassandra Khaw. I'm going to try to put that on my TBR for the end of the year. I'm a little worried because it has such low ratings, but also we'll see how it goes. Mia Sai. Oh, is that the only book that was her debut? That was so good. Oh, I'm so surprised. I'm very impressed. Okay. Oh my gosh, this is so slow. Please load. There we go. So I really loved the first 2 books in this series. So I'm going to try to read the next book this year. And then I've been rereading this series, although it has not been going well. So I really loved reading the first one. Love that book. I enjoyed this one, but this one was not good. So now I'm worried, because this one I gave 2 stars, this one I gave 3 stars when I initially read them. So I'm worried about my reread if they're not going to be good. Because like this one, even though it's 3 stars, maybe it's more like 2 stars, because like I legitimately took like a 3-month break in the middle, like actually like 2 hours from the end of the audiobook, because I ended up getting quite bored. So I'm gonna try rereading this one, but I'm a little worried. That's one. Binti. So I initially tried to read Binti Home when I originally read Binti, and I just could not get into it. But now that, actually let's edit my review. Now that I ended up really loving Binti and reread it, I'm going to add this to my TBR, and I really want to reread this one now that I just reread Binti. We'll see how that goes. Oh, and then I also reread the Tea Dragon Society, and so I really love to reread the Tea Dragon Festival. And the Tea Dragon Tapestry has been on my TBR for so long, so I really need to, since I reread this one before finally reading the 3rd one, I might as well just reread the 2nd one and then finally read the 3rd one. Jesus. Womp. I would love to get to the first book in the other series, A Conspiracy of Truths. So I'm gonna add that to my TBR. And I've been loving reading Sarah Gailey so much that I would love to prioritize reading some of their other books. But I don't know if it's necessarily a priority for this year. Yeah, I'm just trying to build a TBR. So basically, I'm trying to build a TBR for the end of 2023, so that hopefully when I'm like building specific TBRs like G's Magical Readathon, I can like pull from a list, and then I feel like I'm getting to the books that I keep saying to myself like, oh, I really want to get to that, and then I forget. So I'm gonna add the Echo Wife, and maybe I'll get to that one. For Mira Grant, I recently read, I really loved Into the Drowning Deep and Rolling in the Deep. Feed has been on my TBR for a long time, and Chris has really loved this series. I don't know that I'm necessarily going to prioritize it for this year, but maybe it's one for next year that I might prioritize reading. Oh, the next book in the Murderbot series. So I wanted to potentially reread this whole series before the next book comes out. So I'll add the second book to my reread. And this one's supposed to come out, I think it's in, the very end of the year. So I should have time to get to them all. But I should, in that case, like, add all of them. But I'm just going to add one at a time because I'm going to try not to add more than, like, 50 books to this list. But we'll see. I don't know. Okay. I have really enjoyed these two books by Nina Seifrey. Obviously, I'm going to give them 5 stars. I really, really loved them. But I don't think I care about prioritizing Homesick for the end of this year. I think that would be like a next year reading plan. So. But I would really love to prioritize some more of the She Persisted books. So I still haven't gotten to the Lawrence Griffith Joyner, so I'm going to add that one. And then, I mean, there's a ton of them that I haven't gotten to. But I guess that's like the oldest one that I hadn't gotten to. And then Patsy Mink. I'm going to add that one. Wilma Mankiller, I'm also going to add because that was like already really high up on my list. Oh, and this one was too. I don't know why I didn't have it marked on here. I literally took this one out of the library and then I guess I forgot to. But all of these other ones, I guess I should just add them to my TBR in general, but I'm not going to add them to like my priority because it's too many. I'm only one human. I mean, and I know they are very short, but I really love reading these. I think they're excellent. They give me a lot of joy. Okay. Is there another book in the questionnaires series? Are there just 3 or are there more? Oh, there's more. Okay. I don't think I care about reading the next book in this series this year, but I definitely do want to read it. I really love this series. It's very lovely. But I do really want to get to this second book in this series this year of Charms, Ghosts, and Grievances. And same thing with Wretched Water Park. I would really love to get to the second book, Vampiric Vacation. Oh, there's going to be a 5th book? Oh, I thought it ended at 4. Because typically publishers will like not release like the paperback for the previous book until like the next book has come out, but all 4 of these are already out in paperback, and this one just came out in 2023, so I was really surprised that the paperback was already out. So I thought that the series was finished, but no, it's not. Okay, well, that's very interesting. If you're in here and want to chat to me, please do. I don't know. I feel like I'm just talking to myself, which is fine. I I know it's like a lot to expect to just like randomly start streaming and then expect everybody to be here, but also like I really want to rebuild community and I miss talking to everybody. So if you feel like chatting with me, I would love that. But also no pressure because I don't love chatting in live streams, so I understand. The twisted ones, I would say this is probably on my end of year TBR. I hope so because I haven't checked out from the library literally currently. So I should get to it. But another one, oh, I should really get to this one as well because it's just been sitting there on my TBR for so long. Paladin's Hope. Ooh, I really need to get to it. But the other one is Thornhedge. Comes out, I think, next month. Yeah, on August 1. I'm going to switch the cover because obviously this purple cover is like way better. But I'm going to add that to my 2023 TBR as well because I have it pre-ordered on audio and I'm probably going to listen to it right away. That is the hope, at least. So we'll see how that goes. That's always the plan, is to get to things right when they come out, and then other things come out and other books come up and then it doesn't happen. Okay. So there's already 20 books on my 2023 TBR, so this is not good. I really want to get to not Ghost Squad. I mean, I do want to get to Ghost Squad, but specifically Witchlings by Claribel A. Ortega. I think I'm going to add that to my 2023 TBR because the sequel came out and the covers are just so good and I really want to look at this cover. Look how fun this looks. Don't you want to read this book? And then same thing with this first one. Has a really really fun and vibrant and beautiful cover that is just so aesthetically pleasing. So both of these I'm just absolutely so excited to read. Also, it's reminding me a little bit with their little gems and stuff of Princess Guinevere and the Jewel Riders, even though it's not at all like that. So anyway, I really want to read it that I can maybe even read the second one. The New Queer Conscience, Pocket Change Collective. So I've already read a lot of these. Imaginary Borders is the one that's already been on my TBR that I haven't gotten to. But I'm gonna add a couple of these other ones to my TBR, so I'm making sure. I don't think I really care about this one, Escape for Your Life. So I'm gonna do that one for the end of my year TBR. Oh, this book does. Oh, it already has a cover. Ooh, it looks so good. Okay, so I'm gonna add that to my not released TBR. And then also see if there's another book by this author that I want to potentially read. I did not realize this was the same author. Do I have this book? Okay, no, we don't have this book. I just recognize the cover from, just existing on the book world. I'm gonna add it to my TBR, so not to prioritize this year, but just in general. Dragons in a Bag. That was so fun. I really want to read the sequel this year, so Dragon Thief 2023 TBR for sure, 100%. Has Clara Parks written anything? Oh, Clara Parks has written a lot of other things. None of them are recent though. A bunch of these just seem to be like knitting patterns, which I don't knit, so I don't care about. This one was about like what it would take to have an entirely US based line of yarn without having to source anything outside of the US. It was very interesting, but yeah, I don't think I want to read any of the other ones. But if she writes other things, I would potentially give them a try. Okay. Okay, even though I knew the end, even though I knew the end didn't work for me, I do want to put The Midnight Bargain, I think, on my 2023 TBR because I've heard such good things about it, even though I knew the end as well, and it really didn't work for me. I found the writing unbearably cheesy. So I don't know, but we'll see. And there's nothing about Zachary Ying's the sequel to that one either, unfortunately. Ugh. I'll read anything by this author. Did I finish this book? Why didn't I rate this book? Yeah, I did read it. I don't know why I didn't rate it. Maybe 3 stars? I think is what I would rate it. It wasn't my favorite. Okay. I really enjoyed Izzy at the End of the World, but I don't think I care about reading another book by this author this year. Next year, though. And Frog and Toad I finally read, and I really, really liked it. So Frog and Toad together. Let me make sure I find the one that I want. Okay, there we go. I would love to read the next one. I need to read this series for the queer history alone, if nothing else. Let's see. Oh, I need to read the next book in the Circle of Magic series. That's what I need to read. I love this series so much. I mean, I've given all 3 books 5 stars. They're fucking phenomenal. Completely obsessed. So I really need to read the next book, and then I will have completed this whole series in like less than a year, which is great. Who even am I? That's so unlike me, but the series is so good, I just couldn't stop reading them. There we go. And it's Briar's book, so love to see it. And then I'm really excited to see more books in like this world. the circle world. Very interesting. So I guess would be Magic Steps next, which I never read. I never read Magic Steps, so we'll see. Although I did read The Will of the Empress, and I really loved it when I read it, so. These are seriously. Tamara Pierce. Fucking brilliant. Okay, Bitter Blue. I really loved reading this series by Kristin Kishore, so Winterkeep, I should definitely prioritize reading. I would love to catch up on this series. Okay, and I really loved reading Princess of Thorns by Stacey J earlier this year, like so much. I loved it, but it makes me worried. Yeah, so she becomes not blind, so I don't love that. So I don't think this is one I would want to read. I don't love that. I don't know if I would want to read any of these other ones. And it doesn't seem like Stacey J is publishing anymore, so I think I'll just leave it as loving that one book and leaving it as a good thing. I have been really enjoying this series. So I'm gonna add both of these to my TBR. This one, and then I wanted to do the pumpkin one, My Pumpkin. I'm so excited. These books are so fun. I give them like 3 stars each. Like, they're just a fun time. They're not like anything amazing. My Tiny Giant, and then the other one was My Birthday Getaway, but I just have a good time reading them, so there we are. Oh, the next Katie Robert Dark Olympus series book. So the next book is this one. I don't know why it has that cover. Let me see if I can change that to the actual correct cover. Cruel Seduction. Oh, I do have it on the right one. That was weird. Okay, this one comes out August 8th apparently, so I will for sure be reading this one this year. Because I tend to read them within like a month or 2 after they come out. So, very fun, very excited. Oh, and I know one that I'm going to be getting to is the next book in this series, the Earth Uman series, which is Earthers Go Hard, which apparently I don't even have on here. But I currently have it on my TBR, on like my short list on my brain, so. Okay, and that's basically everything I've read this year. almost everything. I'm gonna get to January, and then I'm gonna maybe look at some 5-star reads from previous times. This one already has the audiobook out, so I don't know why I haven't read it yet. So I'm gonna do that one. CC Rios, really enjoyed this one, and I definitely want to get to the sequel. There we go. And a lot of these are just sequels. Like, I have so many ongoing series. It is such a problem. Existentially Challenged, I really want to get to. I had so much fun with the first book. Differently Morphous was so fun, so I definitely want to get to this one. I just need to be better at at reading the sequels. Book 4 in the Heartstriker series, A Dragon of a Different Color. For sure want to get to this one. I've been working my way through this series for a few years. When did I read the first book? I read it, I guess, in 2020. So for 3 years, I've been working my way through, and I've only gotten through 3 books in 3 years. So really need to get to the last 2 books. I enjoyed Wolf Gone Wild, but I would really like to get to this next one because I'm more excited about this relationship than I was about the relationship in the first book. Don't Hex and Drive. So I'm going to add that one to my TBR for 2023. And then I've been enjoying, I gave both of these, the first 2 books in the Lord Peter Wimsey series, 4 stars. And so I'm going to add this one to my 2023 TBR as well because I don't know, I just want to read it. It was so fun to read those. Lord Peter Wimsey reminds me a lot of the what's his name? Percy from the Scarlet Pimpernel, the one the one from the 80s. So this version of Percy, that's who Lord Peter Wimsey reminds me of, and so it's just like such a vibe reading it. Okay, so I think that's... Oh, I really want to reread How to Keep House While Drowning, so I'm also going to add that one. I'm just going to finish scrolling through this page and see if anything jumps out at me. Is Aaron Starling coming out with another book? Yes, but not until next year. Okay, I can move on. I really enjoyed Bindle Punk Bruja, but it doesn't look like there's going to be another book by this author anytime soon, at least according to Goodreads. I did like High Times at Low Parliament, but it was so weird. But I definitely want to... I don't know if I made the connection that this was by the same author. Definitely want to read this. I don't know that it's a priority for this year, but that's definitely on the list. That's wild. Okay, anyway. So that puts me at a total of, oh come on, load, 37 books on my TBR for the rest of the year, just based off of that, which is not bad. That's a very small amount, actually. I mean, I could go through that pretty easily, but I do also have a bunch of books like on Audible that I want to make sure that I'm gonna get to, and then also I know that there was a bunch of other things that I was thinking of as far as like books that I want to reread and stuff like that. So I think I'm gonna keep going and try to get to maybe like 60 or 70 books, which I know was a lot, but I'm always extra, so it is what it is. Okay, so I'm going to go refill my water. I'm going to go to the bathroom, and then I will be back in a minute. Okay, so now I think I'm going to go through. I don't know if I should keep looking at this and trying to find books that I want to like prioritize reading, or if I should move on to something else. I don't know if anybody is actually paying attention to what I'm doing, or if you're just kind of vibing. But if you have a preference, let me know. If not, I don't know. I feel like I've been doing this for like an hour, so I could probably move on to something else. I don't need to make this whole list right away. I think at this point it would mostly be adding on some like rereads and stuff like that, which isn't like the most pressing thing necessarily to add to this list at the moment. But I feel quite happy about all these books that now hopefully I won't forget to read in the next few months. I don't know if they ever made a English translation of Kiki's Delivery Service. Oh, that's not what I meant to click on. The sequel, I mean. And I don't think they did. And that's bullshit, because I love rereading Kiki's Delivery Service, but it just came out like in 2020. I think in 2020, right? This is showing the original date, but the English version of Kiki's Delivery Service, yeah, just came out in 2020, and so the fact that they didn't come out with a sequel in English is really stupid, and I feel very disappointed in that. Something I definitely would like to get to. I said I was gonna stop, but at least it was the first book and not just the third. Is there a series that did that? They just translated the third book? Or are you speaking from personal experience? Please tell me that you're not. Oh no. I would love to continue my reread of Yotsuba. I only read the first two last year, so I'm gonna add the third one to my TBR. I said I was gonna stop going through these, but I didn't. I'm just gonna keep going. Oh, and Mort. I really need to finish reading Mort, but I've been reading it with Chris, and we've been reading it very sporadically. Maybe I'm gonna prioritize it when we drive down to, we're gonna drive down to visit his family for Scandinavian Crime Series. Oh my god, that's so stupid. I don't understand publishers. I don't understand what they're doing, like, half the time. Ugh, yeah. Well, I'm glad they did choose the first book to do, which makes sense, because it's, like, the one that is based off the movie, but I don't know why they wouldn't do the rest of them, but just the third one, I think I would cry. we're driving down to see Christopher's family, and it's like a 7-hour drive there, and then like a 7-hour drive back next month. So I think I'm gonna make him finish this one with me. We're like about halfway through it, so I will prioritize it. Thanks for popping in and chatting with me, Liz. I appreciate it. I've just been talking to myself for like the last hour, so I appreciate it. I don't know. There's so many of these that I'm like, oh, I want to reread that. I want to reread that, but I'm trying to like, I need to rein myself in. Oh, The Dark Lord of Darkholme. That's one that I've been thinking about rereading, so I should add that to the list. There's too many books and not enough time. I haven't been doing it as much recently because I've just kind of been more, I guess, I've been better about like DNFing books, and I've had more like nuance in what I've been choosing to read, and I don't know, I feel like I've been having a really good year this year with like, I've been DNFing a lot of like 3-star reads, because like even if I'm enjoying it okay, if I'm not loving it, I've been okay with just being like, I'm gonna let this book go. So I've been doing this less recently, but I used to literally have like a breakdown like every 6 months and be like, I'm never gonna read all the books I want to read, and just like have a freak out. And then Chris would be like, it's okay, you're okay. It's fine. Like not knowing what to say, because like obviously I'm not gonna read all the books I want to read. Hi, Ollie. You should read Kiki. It is so lovely, and you don't need the sequels. Like it's not like it ends on like a cliffhanger or something. You can just read it and like feel fulfilled in like that. I have read it. I don't know, where is it? So I've read it 3 times now, but literally the first time I read it, and then I read it a week later. I just like couldn't, I just instantly wanted that like comfort. It's just like so cozy and lovely, and I do love it more than the movie. I just think it's just lovely. It's very wonderful. I highly recommend it. You should read it. If you want to read it, I say you can't go wrong with it, honestly. I just, all of these books, I'm like, oh, I want to reread that. I want to reread that. That one was so good. But then I also want to read all the new wonderful books, so I don't know what to do. Oh, you know what I need to read is I started reading The Lord of the Rings. I read the first 2 in May of 2019 before we went to that Tolkien exhibit. If you remember Chris's and my vlog on our on Rhodes vlog, and that trip was wonderful. But I read the first 2 right before that trip, and then I never read The Return of the King, and that was in 2019. That was, oh my god, 4 years ago. So that is one. I should read that this fall. What a perfect book to read in the fall is The Return of the King. Look at that. I started reading it in May 3rd, 2019. Oh my god. I just like was feeling very depressed. And so I didn't read it. That's lovely. Oh, and I've also been thinking a lot about rereading Terrier by Tamara Pierce. that's just like, oh, I love Tamara Pierce so much. And I might actually reread the series. I don't know. The last time I read the series, I did not have a good time. But I think I might enjoy it more now. But at least the first book I know I love. So that's okay. Let's see. Oh, Flavia de Luce. Oh no. Okay, so I read the first three. I read the first 3 Flavia de Luce books years ago. I should read the 4th book. That should be a priority this year. I'm gonna make that a priority this year. And it's Christmas, so every Christmas, I think I should read this. I am half sick of shadows, but then I have seasonal depression, so every October, November, December, I get in like a huge reading slump, and then I never read. And then I never read it. So, I shouldn't wait for Christmas. I should just read it. But then I don't want to. So, oops. And I haven't loved any of them as much as I loved the first one. So I should also just reread the first one and see if it like stands up, if I love it as much. But so many books. Also, I'm pretty sure I reread Soulless last year, and I don't have it marked in here. I'm pretty sure I read that in 2022. So, oops. Not always marking what I read. The 4th one was Chris's favorite from Flavia de Luce. And we have most of them, and like the really cool like hardcovers without dust jackets. I mean, I'm gonna listen to it on audio, so it doesn't matter, but I can still like look at it, and it's aesthetic. It makes me feel motivated when I can see the book physically, but yeah, I don't know. I don't know why. I was just kept thinking to myself, I'll read this at Christmas, and then I always get depressed. Oops. I really want to reread a Thor Hansen book. I think the first book I read by him was The Triumph of Seeds. Yeah, I read this in August 2020, and then I didn't read this one until sometime in 2021 because I was so out of it in 2021 that I just put 2021. I know I read it in 2021, but I loved both of them a lot. So I think I would love to reread The Triumph of Seeds because it was so good. And one of my coworkers I think would also really love this book, so I might try to get her to read it with me because I know she would also be obsessed with it if she read it. Vicious! I need to read, because I read this one very recently. I only read it in September, and I really loved it, and I wasn't expecting to love Vicious because I didn't like A Darker Shade of Magic. I ended up DNFing it, but I loved Vicious, surprisingly enough, so I need to... Wait, why is it... Stop it. Oh, I don't like this cover. I want the bone cover. Or the whatever the cover. The cover that matches the bone cover of the other one. Okay. So I should add this one to my TBR. Until it gets too far away, and then I'm like, what happened in Vicious? I should reread that before I read the next one. Fortunately, The Milk. I really want to reread that, especially since I've been recommending it to people like at the bookstore and stuff. I mean, I do remember it really well. It was one of my last reads of 2017, and I remember having so much fun reading it, and just laughing, and it was so good. I didn't even realize that it was illustrated by Skottie Young, who is one of my favorite illustrators. I really love Skottie Young. He did the I Hate Fairyland, which, even though I don't love that series, it's not quite my humor. I think the illustrations are phenomenal. So reading that, and I think that's the perfect book. Fortunately, The Milk is the perfect book to listen on audio and follow along with the book, because it's illustrated by Skottie Young, but it's narrated by Neil Gaiman, so you get all the fun illustrations while following along, but then you can get it read by Neil Gaiman, who's a phenomenal narrator. So that's my recommendation of the best way to enjoy Fortunately The Milk, which is not on the shelf right here because I have it on the shelf because I've been meaning to reread it since it's been so long since I've read it. It's been 6 years. I should really reread it. Oops. Oh, and I was rereading all of Caitlin Doughty's books. Smoke Gets in Your Eyes, From Here to Eternity, and then Will My Cat Eat My Eyeballs. I didn't reread. Because I was rereading it I was gonna reread it in the fall, but then I got really depressed, so I didn't read it. So I would love to reread that this year as well, because I meant to read it last year and I didn't. And I think it's time that I also reread The Strange Case of the Alchemist's Daughter, which is the most fun. If you like classic science fiction, it's a retelling, so it has Frankenstein, Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, Rappaccini's daughter, The Island of Dr. Moreau, it definitely has some more too. I'm just blanking right now. It's also not right here. I have the second book and the third book, but the first book is over on the other shelf, my priority TBR shelf, because I've been meaning to reread it. But it's a retelling of a bunch of them mashed together. It also has Sherlock Holmes in it, and also some of the later books pulls in other classic horror and sci-fi. It's such a fun series, and I really need to reread it. Why have I not done it yet? I have this marked twice as having read it on July 17th. That does not sound right to me. I think that was a mistake. I wouldn't have read it twice on the same day, right? I mean, I might have, because I love Through the Looking Glass, but that sounds a lot even for me. This seems like Goodreads might have just messed it up and added it again. I'm gonna delete one. I'm pretty sure. Ollie, are you saying ooh yes to The Strange Case of the Alchemist's Daughter? It's so good. I would say it's probably, I really like the audio of it, but I would say it's probably better to read physically, because there's a lot of, and I don't know if it's in, sorry, I need to move my mushroom so that I can get to the book. the second book at least, but the first book is in the other room. But there's a lot of like excerpts from the like so the book, the first book, and all the other books is like being written by one of the main characters, but while she's writing it, the other characters are around her and they're like interjecting and being like, that's not how that happened, like, and kind of like adding their own like thoughts about how it actually happened and stuff like that. And so there's like a lot of interjections that look like this, where it's like, actually, Diana says this, and Beatrice says this, and Diana says this. And it happens like a lot throughout the entire book. They're in there, that they're these little like interjections. And the first time I was reading it, I was so fucking confused for the first like few chapters. I was like, what is going on? But then I figured it out and it didn't really confuse me, and I picked up on it or whatever. But I know a lot of people do struggle with it throughout the entire book. So I would say it's probably better to read physically, because then you won't get confused. If you get confused when listening to audiobooks. But if you don't get confused when listening to audiobooks and you like pick up on stuff pretty easily, then the audiobooks are super fun and I really love them. And I know this is really big, but this first book is not nearly as big as this. The second book is by far the biggest. But this one, the first time I read it, I was listening to it on audiobook, and I was like, oh, that's really big. And then I read it in one day. I like could not put it down. It was so much fun. So there is that. And I lose attention with big books often. If they're too long, heaven help me, I get like 10 hours into it, and then I'm like, okay, I'm not coming back to you because I got distracted and bored. Not with Theodora Goss. Anyway, I really recommend this series. It's just a trilogy, but I wish it wasn't. I wish that there were more books because they are incredible. Oh, that reminds me, I really need to read, what is the name of, it's the one that's like sort of like romance mystery, and it's set in like late Victorian times. I think it is like Stoker and no, is it Stoker? Maybe it's not Stoker. Damn it. Who is it? An Extraordinary. Oh, I will remember it eventually. I really want to read that one too. And I don't know why I can't think of it. I know I own it on audio, the first book, so I very easily could find it. But it's one that Riley Marie is obsessed with. And Booksamala has also been reading it a lot, and really loving. And it's been on my TBR for literally a bajillion years. God damn it. I wonder if I go to my library, I bet it's one of my oldest books in my Audible library. I feel like it has like, oh, if I don't read it this year, I'm gonna be, I meant to read it last fall, and then I got really depressed. Oh, god damn it. I feel like I bought it at the beginning of like 2016. Oh, I'm so annoyed. Oh, I'm sorry, this is probably so boring. Oh, I can't find it. There it is, A Curious Beginning. Oh, Deanna Raybourn, I found you. Ah! Okay. If I don't read this year, I'm gonna cry. Because now there's like, when I first heard about this series, it was like probably in 2015. Now, all these years later, there's 8 books. If I had started reading it in 2015, 2016, and then I just kept reading them as they came out, I wouldn't be 8 books behind. So I really need to read at least the first book, but apparently it is like so fun. It's like her guardian dies or gets kidnapped and she has to, I don't know, try to like maybe figure out who's like, somebody's like trying to come after her and she has to like figure out who's trying to like attack her. Yeah. She thwarts her own abduction with the help of enigmatic German baron. Anyway, so she's like on the run in the book, I think, and anyway, everybody loves it. Everybody loves it, and I need to read it. I would also love, I need to read K.Y. Craft, Sleeping Beauty by Malon F. Craft and K.Y. Craft this year. Like one of my favorite. Kanuko Wycraft is one of my favorite illustrators of all time. And so I would really love to reread some of these books that I haven't read since I was like a kid or a teenager. So adding that on my list. Is Phoebe Wall? Oh, Phoebe Wall is coming out with that like memoir this year. Later this year. Isn't she? Yeah, Phoebe's Diary. Which I already have on my list. It comes out in September. But I would love to read more. I want Phoebe to come out with more like children's picture books. There's only one of them that I haven't read that she's illustrated, but I don't really care about getting to it this year. Maybe next year. The Plant Messiah. So I read this in 2021. It was so good. One, I would love to reread it because I feel like I was in such a fucking daze that year. But two, I was really hoping that he would have written more books, but he hasn't. So instead, I'll just have to fulfill myself by rereading this one. But this was so interesting. But I really, really enjoyed it. The Plant Messiah Adventures in Search of the World's Rarest Species. Anyway, it was so good, and I want to reread it, but this year it's not a priority. I would really like to read the 3rd book. There's gonna be a 4th book. Jesus, I did not realize. I really need to read the third book in this series, but I almost feel like I need to reread the first 2 books, but I'm not gonna do it. I just need to move on. Just need to read the just need to read the 4th book, move on. Because I really love this series by Mary Robinette Kowal. The Lady Astronaut series, it's like an alternate timeline where in the 50s, like a huge, like a meteorite like strikes Earth, and it's basically another like if the dinosaurs go extinct. It's basically that. And they end up realizing like, oh, well, this is what made the dinosaurs go extinct, but it didn't happen overnight. It was like years of the planet like starting to fall apart, and so they like fast track space travel and trying to get people into space and colonies in space and stuff. And normally you wouldn't have women in space in the 50s at all, but this is alternate history. But you wouldn't have ladies in space in the 60s or 70s. But in this case, you do if you're going to repopulate planets, because you need their uteruses. So anyway, it's really good, and I really loved the first 2 books. So really need to read the 3rd book, which also reminds me, I need to read, I can never remember how John Scalzi, okay, he does. I was like, I can never remember if John Scalzi spells his name John with an H or John without an H, but it's John with an H. I should just remember that he spelled it the normal way. I really enjoyed The Collapsing Empire, the interdependency, and when I read the first 2 books, but I never read the 3rd book. What the fuck is wrong with me? So that's one that I've been thinking about a lot the last year, is like, why haven't I read this book yet? So that's definitely one that I'm going to prioritize my butt into reading, because I'm gonna forget everything. I mean, the first 2 books were already really complicated. I feel like I've already forgotten everything that happened in them, but I'm really gonna try to read this book without having to reread the first 2, because that's a lot of time. I mean, if I do reread them, I mean, that's not the end of the world. I mean, I really enjoyed them, but also there's so many other books, and I would rather just read the sequel rather than rereading the first 2. Eek. Spinning Silver by Naomi Novik. That's one. I don't know if I should put it on this year's TBR, because I don't know that it's like really a priority for this year, but I think I'm gonna do it anyway, because it has been 5 years since I read it. Come August 18th, which is only a month away, it will be 5 years since I've read it, and I really, really, really loved it when I read it, but I would really love to reread it, since I would consider it like one of my favorite fantasies. I don't know why I have this title. Let me see if I can switch it, because I've never called this book Extraordinary Insects a Day in My Life. I've always called it Bug Sting Bite, because that's like the American title that I first heard it as. So that was really weird that it's in there as Extraordinary Insects. No, thank you. Oh, you know what I need to read is Cassia St. Clair, The Golden Thread, How Fabric Changed History. I really wanted to read that last year, and then I just didn't end up getting to it, unfortunately. This year I will read it. Oh, I'm very excited. I really loved The Secret Lives of Color. Was so interesting. The Secret Lives of Color tells the unusual stories of the 75 most fascinating shades, dyes, and hues, from blonde to ginger, the brown that changed the ways battles were fought, to the white that protected against the plague. Picasso's blue period to the charcoal on the cave walls in Lascaux, acid yellow to Kelly green, and from Scarlet Women to Imperial Purple. These surprising stories run like bright thread throughout history. In this book, Cassia St. Clair has turned her lifelong obsession with colors and where they come from, whether Van Gogh's chrome yellow sunflowers or Punk's fluorescent pink, to a unique study of human civilization across fashion and politics, art and war. The Secret Lives of Color tell the vivid story of our culture. It was so interesting, and it sounds like it might be dense, but it's not dense at all. It's incredibly easily readable because each page is like a different color. I wonder if I can find a... You can kind of see here. Well, that's not helpful. I wonder if I can open this page. You can kind of see here that like the colors on each side or whatever, and how it like kind of blends down. So you can see that it's like basically each color has like 1 to 2, like one page meaning like one side and another side to 2 of those. So like 2 to 4 pages of information about that color. So it's very, like, you can just read about one color, and then you can, like, move on. So it's, like, you can just read a little bit about the color, and it's very interesting. And it doesn't get too overwhelming. So just like this. There we go. There's a nice little thing of what it looks like. So you just, like, are reading just a tiny bit about what, the history of that color is. And it's totally, yeah, it's such a vibe. And it was so easy to read and so interesting because each story was just so interesting. And yeah, anyway, I really, really liked it a lot. And so I was really excited about reading Cassia's other book. And then I didn't. So the story of my life. I was really thinking about rereading this one last fall, so I think I'm going to add this one back to my 2023 TBR. Monster, She Wrote, The Women Who Pioneered Horror and Speculative Fiction. I originally read it in 2020, June 2020, but something really traumatizing happened to me in June 2020, so I really don't remember it. This book, I mean. I don't remember a lot of stuff from 2020. So I should reread it. Oh, and A Gathering of Dragons. So I wasn't originally interested. I was like, oh, do I want to read the sequel to this? But the sequel doesn't follow the same characters. A Heart of Blood and Ashes, I really, really loved a lot. I read it last year. The sequel doesn't follow the same characters, so I do want to read this if it doesn't follow the same characters, because I was happy with how those characters' stories ended, so I'm going to add that to my TBR as well. God of Gnomes! I really need to read the sequel to this one as well. I guess, Ollie, maybe this would be a recommendation for your girlfriend if she wants to read like a fun Godcore, like, fantasy novel. This one was so fun. I mean, I guess it could be a recommendation for you too, but I am very excited to read the sequel, and I've been meaning to read it for a couple years. And when I tried, I couldn't get into it. The one time I tried the first chapter, I was just like, I'm not in the mood right now. But anyway, so this guy wakes up and he's a godcore, and his new worshippers are a colony of incompetent gnomes scratching out an existence in their underground grotto. And if that isn't bad enough, Corey soon realizes that his gnome denizens are about to become extinct. They are threatened by groups of blundering adventurers and abducted by raiding kobolds to be sacrificed to their own dark god, an ancient mysterious foe who does not take kindly to Corey's arrival. Anyway, so he's just basically having to, like, whip these gnomes into shape. But he gets power from them by, like, them worshipping him, and, like, so he has to, like, do, like, perform miracles and, like, try to, like, help them so that they'll, like, worship him so that he can have, like, more power to, like, help them do more things, and then he can, like, tell them, like, what to do, and he's, like, basically trying to get them to have a civilization so they can, like, fight back and protect themselves against all these things that are trying to kill them because they're just tiny little gnomes. And I think the cover is a delight, of course. That's why I picked it up. So it was so fun. I really loved reading it, and I've been meaning to read the second book for a long time. The second book wasn't out when I read the first book, and so I wasn't able to read it right away, and so then it got put on the back burner for a very long time, but that's why I'm going to try to add it to my 2023 TBR. Melody, hi, hello, how are you? Wait, why can't I, let me see if I can, what in the, wait, I'm trying to see what book is on your, what book is on your picture? That's what I want. I mean, how are you? But also, what book is that? Is he in a wheelchair? Is this some disabled main character? I want to know what this book is. I can't see it. Yeah, we're doing pretty good. Oh, it's a fan fiction. Oh, damn it. Okay, well, never mind. I mean, not that fan fiction isn't great, and that I think it's totally valid and great, but it's not on audio, so I probably won't read it. Oh, it's Cedric and Hermione fan fiction. Wait, but he looks like he's in a wheelchair. I'm so confused. Is he? Oh, well. Finding himself. Yeah, we're doing good. I've been thinking about it that it's like I basically haven't posted consistently since like 2019, and it's like I'm such a different person. So many things have changed since then. And not only have y'all like stayed by and okay, he is disabled in a wheelchair. Awesome. Well, I love to see that, but not only have you like stayed behind and like willing to like keep coming back every time I sporadically pop in and willing to support me and stuff, which I heckin' appreciate, but also like you've missed so much, like you don't even know. And I've been thinking about that because like I was like looking at my old like YouTube videos and I'm like, who is this person? Who are they? Like, I am not that person. I mean, I am, but it doesn't feel like I'm that person. Oh, I miss you too, Elizabeth. Thank you for coming back and chatting with me and supporting. I really want to start streaming again every week. I feel like maybe this time wasn't a good time because it was so early. I can stream a different time. I know maybe more people are starting to pop in now, so I don't know if like now would be a good time to start streaming-ish. Like 12 p.m. EST on a Sunday is maybe when I could try to stream next week. I just I don't know. I don't know anything, but I really appreciate you all. But also, I'm also willing to answer any questions if you have any questions about what's been going on or how life is or anything. But yeah, we're doing good. I'm working 2 part-time jobs, but one is like 20 hours a week, and then one is like 6 hours a week, occasionally a little bit more. It's like not a lot, so I'm really not working that much a week. I'm working very little, which means it's all thanks to Christopher working so hard that I've been able to work less, which means it's helped a lot with my mental health and it's helped a lot with my anxiety. Hi, thank you, Ollie. I appreciate you hopping in. I'm sorry if it was not as exciting as you were hoping, but I hope you have some good recs and I will talk to you later. Bye. Yeah, so Chris works really hard so that I have been able to work less, but it's helped a lot with how I have been doing. But then it means that his work has been crappier, so I really appreciate everything he's been doing. Yeah, but it's been pretty good. I've been doing a lot better, and I think Chris has been doing as good as can be expected with him having to pull so much weight the last few years. He literally gets me through my days every day. So, but yeah, we're doing good. Everything's been good. How is everybody? How are all of you? Oh, mwah, Chris. Hi, Lindsay. Okay, so maybe this is a better time to start streaming. Because this is apparently when people pop in, and streaming at 10 a.m. EST was like way too early. Yeah, yeah, but Chris is awesome. Chris is mostly when he works a lot, like he spends most of his time working, and then when he's not working, he's been spending a lot of time building really fucking awesome stuff in Minecraft. Like, really awesome stuff. Right now, he's been working on, he's a mod in Titancraft, which is a server for Tango, who's a streamer, and his, like, Minecraft server that he has. And so Christopher is like a moderator, and he's been doing a lot of like behind the works building for the next season of Titancraft that's going to start up. So he's been doing a ton of streaming, a ton of building and behind the scenes planning and stuff for the next season of Titancraft, and it's incredible. I keep getting to see everything that he's been working on, and it is insane. Chris is so good. He's like so creative, and then being able to like execute his creativity with just like the limited stuff that he has in Minecraft, it's phenomenal, and it's so cool to get to see that every day. Oh, this year has been crazy. I'm sorry, Elizabeth. I hope it's been crazy in a good way, but probably not the way that's phrased. I haven't been planning my reading routine. I basically was going through and planning my books that I wanted to read for the second half of this year. So actually I'm gonna finish the page that I'm on, and then I'll show you my list of books, because it's a long list. I mean, y'all know I can't do anything by halfsies. It's a huge list of books, but that's okay. I do everything as overkill, and that's alright. The year has gone by really fast. Like, we're already halfway over. Okay. Later is better for you. Okay, that is good to know. Not in a good way. Ugh, I'm sorry. That really sucks. I mean, it can only get better. I mean, you can hope. I hope it does get better. I hope the year is a lot calmer and I hope your life is full of a lot better things in the second half of the year and going forward. Okay, so maybe next week I will try to stream at noon EST on Sunday and see how that goes. So plan on seeing me next Sunday at noon. Alrighty. Maybe you can organize your Goodreads while I'm organizing my Goodreads. Well, that's good. Good friends is, I know, one of the the things that can keep you going. So I'm glad you have some of those, Elizabeth. Oh dear. Okay, let's quickly, I'm gonna just try to blitz through. Okay, I don't know. And I'm going to be reading this series by Katie Roberts, so I need to add the next one to my TBR. When does this come out? September 2023. Okay. I don't know that I'm going to prioritize this one. I'll probably get to it anyway because I've given all 3 of the previous books 5 stars, but for now, I'm going to leave this one off. Last Graduate, I'm going to add to my TBR for this year. Alrighty. Oh, Katie Robert. Yeah, I love Katie Robert so much. They just write, I don't know. Their writing is just such a comfort read to me, which is funny because it actually tends to be really dark a lot of the time and is not comfort to probably most people. But for me, I'm like, oh, this is my comfort read. So. Okay. And finally, the second book, A Company of Fiends, came out on audiobook, so I can move this from no audio to want to read, and I can add it to my 2023 TBR. So, finally. Alright. And then I'm going to scroll back up, boop, 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 and go to my 2023 TBR. And really quickly, I'm going to run to the restroom again because, I drank so much water. So I'll be right back. Oh, like transferring the books that you already have on NetGalley to your Goodreads TBR shelf. Cause yeah, that's that's not fun. have you been doing a lot of audiobooks? Like, is it mostly through like audio subscription services, or have you been using like Libby and stuff? Okay, so what I've been doing is I have been this morning. So if you decide to go back and watch the last 2 hours of this live stream, which you obviously don't have to, but I tried to talk throughout the whole thing so it wouldn't be boring. You could just like do it while watch it while like doing other things. Cause I know sometimes people like turning on like background, whatever. But basically, I just went through my Goodreads and I just added a bunch of books that I would like to try to prioritize in the second half of this year. And the thought behind that is that maybe I could like maybe when like GU releases the prompts for Magical Readathon in August, that I can go to this shelf first and try to choose books from this shelf to fit those prompts. So these are the books off of the list. You can always go to my Goodreads and look at this list if you want, the 2023 TBR. So there's 63 books on there. I think I'm probably going to add a few more because I didn't even go to like my Goodreads, or I also didn't just scroll through my TBR. These are mostly like, honestly, mostly sequels, because that's like the mostly what I've been thinking about. It's like, oh yeah, I really want to read that. It's mostly been books that are sequels. I don't really feel like reading these all off. I will if you want me to, but I can scroll through them and then you can see what I've been thinking about reading. Or rereading, as the case may be. And there we go. Those are all the books that I added. Oh, that is so cool. An audiobook reviewer for Hachette. That is really awesome. The Romance Readathon. Oh. Yeah. With Magical Readathon, I can't participate in anything else in August because that's like 40 prompts or something. Like, there's no way I can do, because you're not supposed to do all of them. But I do all of them because, and I haven't failed. I haven't failed yet. But anyway, I feel like this is a good mix, and I'm gonna go to my settings. I'm gonna make sure that I have the date published, the number of pages, the number of ratings. Hi, Bruna. Okay, apparently, so I've already been streaming for 2 hours, and apparently streaming at 10 a.m. EST on a Sunday is a really shitty idea, because everybody's coming in now, which is fine. I can keep streaming for a bit, but next time, I'm thinking I'm going to stream next week, but I'm going to stream at 12 p.m. EST, so around now. So that more people can come in, and yeah. Alright, so now that I have a bit of, so basically I spent the last 2 hours compiling like this list of 63 books. No, not this one. Oh my gosh, there's 2 different lists of 63 books right next to each other. Okay, this list of 63 books that I want to try to read in the second half of the year, because I want to make sure that I'm getting to the books that I keep thinking like, oh, I really want to read that. I forget, like, you know, what it's like to be on the, I forget what it's like to be on the West Coast, because I've been an East Coaster for so long now, that I started streaming at 10 for me, but I guess it was only 7 a.m. for you West Coasters. So next things, I could, what would you like me, you'll watch the VOD later, okay, and I tried to talk throughout the whole thing, even though literally nobody was in here for like an hour and a half. I just talked to myself the whole time, so so that people could watch it if they wanted to. So hopefully that's not too awkward. So now, what do you want to watch me do? I have a list of things that I could do. So I made my end of year TBR. I could also go in and, so I have a ton of screenshots on my phone that or pictures on my phone that whenever I see a book and I'm like, oh, I want to read that, or I want to at least look that up on Goodreads and see if it's something that I want to read, I take a picture of it or I screenshot it. And then I don't always get around to adding them to my Goodreads for a very long time. So I can add those to my Goodreads. So that's one thing I could do. Another thing is I have these 2 different shelves on Goodreads. I can zoom in so you can see it a bit better. So I have these 2 different exclusive shelves, want to read and no audio. So I can go through and kind of check if, and it's off center. So let me see if I can I drag this? Please. I don't know if it will let me drag it. It's not like letting me oh, I just deleted. Damn it. It's not like letting me recenter this. Well, that's really annoying. I was hoping that it would let me just drag it, but it's for some reason not letting me just drag it. Anyway, you can you can sort of see that at the very top of under my bookshelves it says want to read and audio. They're exclusive shelves because they're, you know what I could do is I could maybe minimize this and drag it over. Would that make a difference? No, that doesn't make a difference. God damn it, how do I do this? Chris? God damn it. Oh, is it because it's locked? Oh, it's because it's locked. Okay, I unlocked it. I figured it out. Okay, never mind, I don't need you. I don't need you, I figured it out. It was locked. Yeah, I figured it out. It was locked, but I didn't want it locked. There we go. So want to read or no audio. So sometimes I go through and I'll like make sure that either books that are on no audio still don't have audio. So I'll like check them on Audible to be like, sometimes they do have audiobooks now. So I'll do that. Or when I'm adding books to I want to read, I don't always check them right away. So I'll go back like a few months later, and like make sure that they do have audiobooks, and I'll add them to no audio. So I can do that. I can, yeah, add books to my TBR on Goodreads. I can also on my, I've been doing, so these are the books that I've read this year, and I was doing a cross stitch. Oh, I can show you. It's right here. I know it's right here, but I don't know where it is. Oh, I threw it over there. Damn it, I have to stand up. Just a second. So I'm very behind because it was making me a little bit anxious at the beginning of the year, but I'm not feeling anxious about it anymore, so I'm obviously not gonna do something fun if it's gonna make me feel anxious, but now it's not making me feel anxious, so I'm okay working on it again. I'm so fancy. Chris set that up for me. So this is like a cross stitch, and each book is a different genre. Each book color is a different genre. So I can keep going through and figuring out which genres these would belong to. There's a bunch of them to add. I only did it through like February. And I've only stitched like the first like 10 books. So I could do that. There's lots of things I could be doing. Or, so here are your options so far. Let me know which one you would rather me do. Add books, check books on my TBR, like go through my screenshots and take pictures that I've taken pictures of and add them to my TBR and Goodreads. Check if audiobooks exist of books. Add genres for books that I've already read. Or I could start going through the books that I read in January of this year, and I figured I could start doing a wrap-up of books that I've read so far this year. And I could do any of them. I figure I might stream for another like hour or so. So would you like me to do any of those 4 things? Let me know. Watching gameplays? What games were you watching? That's what I want to know. That's making a book blanket. That's awesome. That's acting cool. Yeah. The added books to your TBR? Okay. I can do that. It really needs to happen because I just keep adding more and more, and then it's such a problem. And it gets really backed up. And I'm like, oh shit. Because every day I see more books. I mean, because I work at a bookstore and I work at a library. So every day, and I'm online in book spaces. So every day I see more books that, mainly Minecraft. Oh, books in your TBR. Okay. You agree. And now the new update, 7 Days to Die. I don't even know that game. 7 Days to Die. Oh, it's like a zombie game. It looks scary. Okay, so books in my TBR. Let's go back over to Chrome. Okay, I can probably, well, let's see. I don't know that I need to unzoom it completely. I could probably keep it zoomed in a bit so you can still see stuff a bit better. Yes, so that's why I think it helps with the anxiety, because it's like in 2018 and 2019 and 2020 and 2021, it's like every day leaving the house was like legitimately, I was like having a panic attack. And I'm not doing that anymore. And it's like, oh, because I don't hate going to the places that I'm going. Like, what a novel idea. It really helps. And it's not just the environment of like being with the books and being whatever. It's like also legitimately the fact that, you know, like my coworkers are good people and not like shitty as fuck. Like they were in my previous workplaces. So that really helps. You like to mind and craft and build. That sounds like something I would do if I played that game. It's like I always like to do like the monotonous, like kind of like grindy things. I'm like, I don't, yeah. That's what I do when I play games. I will show you guys actually really quick what I'm currently reading, just cause. Oh, that's another thing. There's one more book I need to make sure I add to my TBR. Godkiller. I can add this to read, because even though there is an audiobook, it's not out yet, but I have a copy because I am at the bookstore and we get digital ARCs, digital audio ARCs. So I have the audiobook and that's on my TBR. So I'm very excited to get to that. Yes. So that's one. But I'm also going to share with you the book that I'm currently reading because I'm loving it so much. Oh. I'm just gonna add it to my want to read even though I'm currently reading it, because then it will say that like I started it X and X day even though I actually started it days ago. Oh, this was published in 2015, but the audiobook I think just came out. But it's called Plants Have So Much to Give Us. All we have to do is ask, Anishinaabe Botanical Teachings. It's by Mary Sizip Genius, and then it was edited by like her daughter. I don't like that cover. Let me switch to the other cover because it seems like it's higher quality. It's like less neon green. It hits the same spot for you as planning reading lists. That's understandable. I love that for you. Oh, I'm sorry, Elizabeth. I 100% can understand that. And I mean, it can only get better. I feel like I'm finally getting to a place that it's like I'm finally doing better, but like it has taken so long to get here. So like I only hope that things pick up for you, because I mean everybody's just been living in trauma for so long, and it's not good. It's really bad. Okay. But anyway, this book is phenomenal. I'm obsessed. It's, even if you don't have interest in actually like applying these teachings, I'm still learning so much about like Anishinaabe like lore and myth. It's so interesting, but it's basically a mixture of stories about plants and then like how to identify them and then their practical uses. And it's incredible, and I don't feel like I can do justice talking about it, but they're like, I kept coming in. It's the kind of book, this is my favorite kind of book, where I keep coming in and bugging Chris and being like, can I tell you another thing about this book? Because I keep learning really cool things, and then I have to go share with Chris, because it was so interesting. Anyway, it's just so interesting, and the way that these stories and these teachings are taught, it's in a way that like you will remember them, and it's just like, it's so brilliant and it's so interesting, and I don't know, I'm just loving literally every single second of it. I'm at 90%, so I'm definitely gonna finish it up this afternoon. And it's just like, it's so cool. All these plants are fucking incredible, and yeah, Mary is incredible, and her teacher Keys was so incredible, and Key was so incredible, and I just like, everything is just great about this book, and I really recommend it. Even if you don't read a lot of nonfiction, I still think it's like, the stories are super really interesting, and I don't feel like I'm doing a good enough job explaining about what this is about, because I'm starting to get a little bit of a headache, but I promise it's really, really good. And anyway, this was the first screenshot because I took a screenshot when I finished listening to it last night, about where I was at. At 12:14 a.m. today, I took a screenshot that I was 90% through it. So then I know where to put it on my little, my list of, I've been keeping track every day of how much I've read. So then for yesterday, I would have gotten actually this far through it. Anyway, that's what I've been doing. So I take screenshots from by myself of like where to go in and edit my spreadsheet. Anyway, so this is my current read, and 10 out of 10, really recommend. You got back into adult coloring, but you also fell down the hole of BL dramas, like boy love dramas, like TV shows, or like books and comics. I'm guessing at what that means. But if it's like shows and movies, that makes sense if you're doing that while coloring. I hope that's soothing your soul. Okay, so I can delete my previous screenshots of that because now I do it. Okay, the last thing that I screenshotted was how to survive history, but I didn't screenshot it because I was enjoying it. I screenshotted it is because I listened to the first 10 minutes of the audiobook, and I realized it's a book I don't want to read, so I'm just going to delete it from my, but I only got 3% into the book. I'm not even going to mark it as read on Goodreads. I'm just going to delete it off of my Goodreads. Oh, I didn't even mark it on my Goodreads. So that's great. I just don't have to do anything. I just wanted to make sure that it wasn't on my Goodreads. The next book is called Cupid's Pack. And it is Heartstone Mates. It looks like it's a reverse harem. It is. Okay. So Cupid is the hand of fate. So a lot of times I'm just like reading through the first like couple sentences of the thing and seeing if it's something that I want to add to my TBR. Not all of these are going to go onto my TBR. Yep, boy dramas. Yep. boy dramas. Okay. Well, I hope it's fulfilling your soul. That's lovely. Isn't the cover so fun? That's why I grabbed it for my TBR, because I was like, look at that cover, it's so great. But now I have to actually read what it's about and see if it actually is great. But let me move my little thing. Let's see if up here is going to be a good place. Let's just move it all the way up so that you can read along if you want to, if I don't do a great job. Do you want me to read it out loud, or you let me know. If you don't like me reading out loud, tell me to stop. Cupid's Pack Cupid is the hand of fate. Cupid's Pack has always served one purpose: protect the purity of mate bonds. Oh, sorry. At the first I thought it was going to say protect the purity of their mate, but okay, it didn't say that. So sorry. At first I was like red flag, but no, it's okay. When my own fated mate turns out to be an unbearable prick, I tarnish my mother's perfect record. As the Luna of Cupid's Pack, she never allowed one of her own to live unmated, and she has no intention of making an exception for me. When I chose to reject my mate, I sealed my fate as an outcast. I have no business being part of a pack known for love bonds when I don't understand what love really is. Oh, okay. I want to read this. That already sounds really fun. Great. What a win already. Yeah, Bruna, you don't have to... That's okay. You don't have to read to be a reader. You're still a reader, and you still have a love of books, and it'll come back to you. I mean, there were many years when I was like a teenager and stuff that I barely read at all because I was way too busy with like school and stuff. And then also there have been many times in the past few years when I didn't read for months because I was way too depressed and anxious, or I just wanted to watch YouTube, or I just wanted to do other things. So that's okay. That's okay. And like you said, it will come back. That's alright. Alrighty. What a win. Okay. So then I can delete this picture. Woo! First one down. Okay, this next one is called... Oh, I'm just going to look up the author because the book is called Pressure. Blech. I feel like I would not find it. Pressure by Kiki Buriel. The male romance paranormal shifter. Axe Landry needs a fake mate. Fast! Axe Landry is the disgraced heir of the defeated Alpha. He craves law, order, and stability, but he's clinging to his position of chief of the Lunar Council Enforcement Agency, the protectors of Crescent City, by a thread. If he doesn't find a witch mate at that, by the next full moon, he's bound for a life of ridicule and isolation, and to Axe, that kind of humiliation is a fate worse than death. Enter Caden Borealis, wild, reckless, and irresistible. Okay, that's all I need to read. Heck yeah. I know that's not what you were saying, heck yeah, to Bruna, but I switched back over to the chat right when, just to see if anybody had said anything. And that was the last message on there at that time, and I was like, heck yeah, indeed, to that. That sounds so fun. Adding that to my TBR. Okay. I hope I'm enabling you. Okay, next one is The Beast and the Bookseller. I don't know if it's an actual beast. I don't think it is. No, I don't think it is. I was really hoping it was. Because I'm not actually seeing any, like, fantasy. Then what a disappointment. But we'll still read it. She's about to make a beast of a bargain in this clever and deliciously engaging fairy tale twist from blah blah blah. All of the London gossip about the Duke of Montrose, a recluse and inflicted with a terrible disease, a gargoyle with a terrible temper, but he's also the most important patron of the centuries-old bookshop that belongs to Miss Elizabeth Sharp's family. But she's been charged with delivering books to the Gargoyle of London himself, or risk the shop falling into ruin. But surely a duke can't be that ghastly. Garrett Maximilian doesn't give a tinker's damn what society says about him. Most of them are sycophants, bowing and scraping in his presence, but not this proud red-headed spitfire of a woman standing before him. In fact, nothing makes him feel more alive than Miss Elizabeth tartly criticizing his books. Perhaps he just needs a plan to keep her close. Okay, so no. If you feel so excited about this and want to read it, more power to you. I am so excited for you. Personally, I'm not interested and not going to add it to my TBR, but if you do, I'm so happy for you. I just really wanted this one to actually be like a fantasy romance. Like, I wanted him to be a legit gargoyle or beast or some shit, but he's not, and so I'm not going to, and that didn't catch me enough. But if you want to read it, I think you're awesome, and you should totally read it. Okay, let's see if this next one is actually a beast, because this one is Beguiled by the Beastly Baron. Ooh, it is. I didn't see the cover when I took a screenshot. You can see my screenshot is there's no cover. But this is a fucking beast. He's a little skull head. Yes. I'm so excited. Yes, I'm glad I'm okay, yes. I'm so glad I'm I don't even know what the word I was looking for. Influencing you, but in a bad way, but in a good way, because it's books, and books are good. Okay. The Monsters Ball. Wait, are there others? Oh! Okay. So How to Marry a Marvel Marquis was already on my TBR, but I didn't realize that these were all part of the same series. Okay, because I was already going to read The Scoundrel and The Satyr King as well, but I didn't realize that there were so many in this series. Well, I feel like I just need to... I don't think a bunch of these have audio, so I'm just going to add a bunch of these to no audio, and then I'll come back to them later, and maybe they will have audio later. But this one does have audio. I know it does. I'm so excited. I feel like I don't even need to read what the book is about, not with that cover, but in case you want to know. Dear Miss Antonio Santos Pereira, at the bequest of your late father's will, and on account of your potential ruined status and age, Her Majesty has hereby ordered you to attend the Monsters' Ball to find suitable prospects for your family lineage. Antonia is back in London after the passing of her father. Living overseas most of her life without the burden of her family affairs, she is accustomed to a life that allows her to do as she pleases. When she um, when she pleases without to do as she pleases when she pleases without answer to anyone. The massive the massive change the missive changes, sorry, I just can't read today. The missive changes everything, however, and affairs at court that weren't to have been her duty suddenly fall upon her. She will do as she must, but if her husband thinks he will rule her, he will be sadly mistaken. What? I have to. That's so fun. What the heck? I think I'm even... What the heck? Look at that fun cover. This looks so fun. I love the idea of all this Regency fantasy. So I'm going to add this one to my TBR for this year too. Like, I really want to prioritize this one. I should have done that for some of these other ones too, honestly. Because, like, I want to make sure I'm getting to these ones. Okay, I'll look that one up in just a second, Elizabeth. I just need to make sure that I think both of these ones sounded too fun not to add to my TBR. Maybe I will be able to get to them when for the what is it called? Magical Readathon. That's what it's called. Okay. The what now? Fate of the Reaper. A Dark Monster sequel. Wait, who was the author? Soul Taker? Is it this series? She's gonna fuck someone up. Okay. Alright, so Maggie Sun Sari. Oh, there it is. The Discovered. Let's look this shit up. Yeah. Yes. Okay. I added the first one to my TBR. Okay. The Discovered. It doesn't have a super high rating. It came out a year and a half ago. Okay. Her magic was hidden to keep her alive. When that power is unleashed, only one witch can protect her. All Aine wants for her 22nd birthday is a night out in New York City with her normal human friends, but when her roommate stumbles into oncoming traffic, Aine breaks the bind on her extraordinary witch-born power to save her. With Aine's magic now free, her world shifts, and the voice of a male witch commands her to run. Hunted by dark forces, Aine is taken to Aradia, the witch realm, by the mysterious and captivating witch Daelon, a man of perfect control. Daelon needs Ain's trust to protect her and train her to wield her magic, but Ain considers her gift more of a curse and wants nothing to do with the realm of her mother's murderers. Even worse, Dane's shielding ability makes him the only one impervious to her, I don't even know what that word is, the ability to read others' true natures. I mean, it doesn't sound bad. It doesn't sound totally thrilling and engaging to me. So I'm going to say pass. Okay. This next one, though, I mean, we'll see what the, we'll see what this cover. We'll see what the blurb is, but oh my god. You still haven't read it. I don't know, like it, I mean, there's so many books that sound like good enough that, and like, unless I'm like really excited, I just need to like just not, or unless I'm like extra drawn to the cover or like something else, you know. But look at this cover. Monsters and artifacts. Humans and werewolves do not mix. I tried that once, and all I have to show for it is a broken heart. No thanks. But I have to pretend that Daphne is my mate in order to find the mystical artifact threatening my clan. I know it's going to end badly, but I'll do anything to save my family, so I decide to act like the cheerful bookworm with the body of a goddess doesn't affect me in the least. Which is a big fat lie, even before I discovered the one thing that would make all of this 10 times more complicated. You see, Daphne is my true mate. Now, every day that I spend with her is a special kind of torture. Her very touch makes my body burn with desire. I don't know, it sounds so fun. I don't know, I'm not normally, you think you have that book from, NetGalley. You read Feral. Was it good? I read, I don't know, I don't read a lot of like mate books. I haven't read that many, and the ones that I have read, I don't normally rate very highly, but I guess a lot of these books, this section of books, that we're working through right now, came from like Tantor's pre-releases for books that are coming out on audio in April. The size of his hand compared to her head. Yeah, he's very big. It's a lot. It's so campy. It's so fun. And the thing is, though, is that if I start it and then I'm not liking it, then I could just be like, oh well, stop that. Oh, you have it from NetGalley to read Feral. Okay, you haven't actually read Feral. Sorry. Read and read confuse me so much. My little brain can't understand. Okay. Wow. You should read it. It looks so funny. But I guess that Tantor is just on a huge Fated Mates kick right now, because all of these books are all Fated Mates, but I guess I have to read them. I don't know. Okay, this next one is Rise of the Dawn Bringer. First book in a fantasy romance, which came out less than a year ago. It's a slow burn romance that surpasses the bounds of time. It's young adult, which is kind of like a eek for me. Don't love YA, so it kind of takes a little bit more for me to read that. So that's already a point knocked off, but we'll see. After living her entire life behind the white walls of the illustrious kingdom of Devenal, Princess Mara, niece of the great King Grathiel, understands what is expected of her. As her uncle's only heir to the throne, she was raised to be a noblewoman with the full understanding of the history of the lands of Xenofrost and the fallen kingdoms that lay beyond Devinal's protected borders. But the political intrigue and endless theatrics that come with her birthright have never suited her. Though she loves her people, Mara loathes the future her uncle has planned for her. And the approach of her 21st birthday, okay, she's 21, so she's not like 16 running the country. That's like a little bit better. A whole new horror brings her a whole new horror, the expectation that she will marry a man of the king's choosy. Mara believes that this is the worst thing that could have happened to her. She's wrong. In the early morning hours before her birthday, she's awakened by a living nightmare. A group of dreads, the immortal dark magic users vanquished by King Grathiel 20 years before, have infiltrated the castle, and Mara is kidnapped from her own bed by a tall dark stranger with dire motives. I don't know. It doesn't sound... Again, like, it sounds interesting enough. But I also don't feel, like, really compelled. So, I think I'll just move on. But again, if you want to add it to your TBR, more power to you. I hope you love it. Okay, so this one looks super fun. I hope I am excited. Alibis. Oh, is that how you spell it? Alibis and apple pies. Look at that. Okay. Ghosts, Alibis, and Apple Pies by J.A. Holder. Michelle Bishop has spent most of her life hating her nemesis, Georgia Beauregard. When the town beauty queen herself suddenly dies, Michelle is the only one who isn't mourning. But Michelle has just discovered there is something far worse than a living, breathing bully. Try being haunted by a dead one. As Michelle and Georgia try to figure out their newfound supernatural connection, a murder rocks the peaceful community of Carter Bluff, Arkansas. Now the ghost of the victim is also appearing to Michelle. It seems that she and Georgia are the only ones who can send this poor annoying soul on his way. Ooh. Can these two enemies learn to put aside their differences to solve a murder in their hometown? Okay. And it looks like there's 3 of them. Well, there's 2, and then the third one is coming out in August. And I guess they become frenemies in the third one. And the third one is called Ghost Cornfields and Carvings. Ghost Bridesmaids and Buttercream. Okay. I feel a little bit iffy about this one just because, like, I don't love the idea of, like, hate on hate from women, but if they become friends, then it's okay. So, I think I'm going to add it to my TBR, and then I'll give it a shot, and if I'm not liking it, and they're, like, too mean to each other, then I can always stop reading it. You didn't get it from NetGalley. You actually just bought it last year as a Kindle book. Then you should read it! I know, Kindle is such a problem. I mean, thankfully not for me, because I don't read physically, but if I did read physically, I can imagine that it would be such a problem. I'm very glad. Sometimes I look at the deals that Kindle has and I'm like, oh, I'm so glad. I'm so glad that I don't get too tempted from this. Audible sales, on the other hand, that's a problem. Okay. Okay, this one. This is so weird. Okay. They just like totally redid the cover of this, and it's interesting. So this was on Tantor's like um audio arcs. It says like the print publisher was 2011, but actually the original publication was 1982. So that's very interesting. Barbara Handley is somebody that I want to read. Yeah, Dragon's Bane, and I know there was another one. Yes, this one. I don't know if I want to add this one to my TBR just because. Oh, but doesn't that sound so fun? A California medieval scholar is pulled into a far-off magical world, and a fight to save mankind in this novel by New York Times bestselling author. As a student of medieval history, Gil Patterson is a woman familiar with dark stories. She knows well the Crusades, the Black Death, and other horrors of the Middle Ages, but it is another kind of atrocity that has begun to haunt her dreams. She sees forces of evil assaulting the beleaguered kingdom, whose kind people are on the brink of annihilation, and awakes each morning in a cold sweat. Gil dismisses the dreams until a wizard appears in her apartment. He has crossed into her dimension, passing through the fraying fabrics of the universe to ask her help. For mankind to survive, he must protect an infant prince whom he plans to hide in Gil's world. The student of history is about to get much closer to evil than she ever imagined. Okay, well, I gotta add it to my TBR because that just sounds so fun and so 80s, and what the heck? Look how fun that is. And this is the cover that actually Tantor was using, so I was quite surprised to see this one when like this is the cover that they had. It looks like a totally different vibe of a book. What a wild time. The cover of Feral screamed to buy me when it was a free Kindle book. Yeah, when they're free. Well, then you're not even buying them. It's just free. Or if they're $1 or 99 cents, then it's like, I mean, that's nothing, right? Okay. I drank too much water again. I'm gonna go to the bathroom again. I will be back in a minute. I say as I drink even more water. I also need to get more of this. Okay. Let's do, I don't know, at least a few more. I feel like I'm still just going through ones that were like on the Tantor like pre-release for audiobooks for August, and I feel like maybe I should hop ahead. Well, yeah, I should hop ahead. There were some that I really wanted to look at, well, specifically to see if they had audiobooks. Some that I was looking at from that were some historical nonfiction. So I want to look those ones up. So Hypatia by Edward J. Watts is one that I really want to read, but does it exist? It doesn't exist on audio. So this is a time when I would go, this is very depressing, I'm going to add it to no audio. And then eventually, hopefully, it will exist on audio, but as of right now, it doesn't. But at least I can take that off of my my list that has been sitting there. So Hypatia was the first one, but there were other recs that I got from the same person. Okay. The next one is called The Fruit of Her Hands. So it's this person online. They're MJ Pardon, and they are I follow them on TikTok, and they gave some recommendations for some historical nonfiction that they recommend. So I was taking those, and then I meant to look them up, and then that was like 3 weeks ago. Okay. This is, I want the one by, Sarah Ift Decker, The Fruit of Her Hands, Jewish and Christian Women's Work in Medieval Catalan Cities? Please, this is not going to be on audio. Fucking damn it. Okay. But listen to this. In the thriving urban economies of late 13th century Catalonia, Jewish and Christian women labored to support their families and their communities. The Fruit of Her Hands examine how gender, socio-economic status, and religious identity shaped how these women lived and worked. Sarah Ift Decker draws on thousands of notarial contracts as well as legal codes, urban ordinances, and Hebrew responsa literature to explore the lived experience of Jewish and Christian women in the cities of Barcelona, Girona, and Vic between 1250 and 1350, relying on an expanded definition of women's work that includes the management of household resources as well as wage labor and artisanal production. Thus, this study highlights the crucial contributions women made both to their families and to urban economies. Anyway, really want to read this. Sounds fucking cool. Does not exist on audio. A crime. Makes it very sad. But at least I can take this screenshot out of my silly little screenshot thing. Another one that I wanted to read by the same author, Jewish Women in the Medieval World, 500 to 1500 CE. Gonna add that one to no audio because we just looked it up on Audible and this author doesn't have anything on audio. Another one that I wanted to read was so I want to look up Miranda sex, and age to work. Yeah, and there's nothing on Audible, of course. In the final decades of the 19th century, the French Third Republic attempted to carve out childhood as a distinct legal and social category. Previously, working-class girls and boys had labored and trained alongside adults. Concerned about future citizens, lawmakers expanded access to education, regulated child labor, and developed child welfare programs. They directed working-class youths to age-segregated spaces such as vocational schools or juvenile prisons. With these policies, they distinguished the youthful worker from the adult worker and the juvenile delinquent from the adult criminal. Through their emphasis on age, these policies defined childhood as a universal stage of life, and yet they also produced inequalities of the experience of childhood. And an age to work, working class childhood in Third Republic Paris. Anyway, sounds super interesting. Well, I don't know why the Kindle book is $80, but I'm gonna add that on no audio, and then maybe eventually it will come out on audio. Ooh, this next one sounds so good. So textual magic. Charms and written amulets in medieval England. So cool, right? Of course, not on audio. An expansive consideration of charms as a deeply integrated aspect of the English Middle Ages. Catherine Storm Hindley explore words as their most words that people expected would physically change the world. Medieval Europeans often resorted to the use of spoken or written charms to ensure health or fend off danger. Hindley draws on unprecedented archive of more than 1,000 such charms from medieval England, more than twice the number gathered, transcribed, and edited in previous studies, and including many texts still unknown to specialists on this topic, focusing on charms from 1100 to 1350 CE, as well as previously unstudied texts in Latin, French, and English. Hindley addresses important questions on how people thought about language, belief, and power. She describes 700 years of dynamic shifting cultural landscapes where multiple languages, alphabets, and modes of transmission gained and lost their protective and healing power. Where previous scholarship has bemoaned the lack of continuity in the English charms, Hindley finds surprising links between languages and eras, all without losing sight of the extraordinary variety of medieval charm as continuous, deeply rooted parts of the English Middle Ages. Sounds so interesting. Doesn't come out for another month, but maybe they'll do an audio for this one, but I'm gonna put it in not released, because this one is not out yet. We can cross our fingers for an audiobook. Sorry, is this boring? Would you rather me go back to the like the paranormal romance? I totally can. I've been thinking about these ones a lot, and I wanted to see if they had audiobooks, but of course none of them do. History, Why It Matters by Lynn Hunt. This one might be on audio. It doesn't look like it, but some of Lynn Hunt's other books are on audio, so that's a little disappointing. Inventing Human Rights, A History, but I'll add it to the list. Nope, it's not boring. Okay, cool. We justify our actions in the present through our understanding of the past, but we live in a time where politicians lie brazenly about historical facts and meddle with the content of history books, while media differ wildly in the reporting of the same event. Frequently new discoveries force us to reevaluate everything we thought we knew about the past. So how can any certainty about history be established, and why does it matter? Lynn Hunt shows why the search for truth about the past as a continual process of discovery is vital for our societies. History has an essential role to play in ensuring honest presentation of evidence. In this way, it can foster humility about our present-day concerns, a critical attitude towards chauvinism, and an openness to other people and cultures. History, Hunt argues, is our best defense against tyranny. Anyway, sounds really good. Definitely want to read it. And I'm also going to look up that other one by Lynn Hunt, Inventing Human Rights. Though it has quite low ratings for a nonfiction. I do wonder about that. It's a lot of 3 stars. Okay. I'm going to add it to my watch I read. And it's nice that it's on audio, so there we go. I know you like nonfiction. I still will see on Goodreads, I'll be like going through and I'm like, oh, Elizabeth has read this, or it's on her TBR, of course it is. Okay, this next one is Sarah Maza, Thinking About History. Let's see, is it on audio? It's on audio! Yes! Whew! Okay. What distinguishes history as a discipline from other fields of study? That's the animated question of Sarah Maza's Thinking About History, a general introduction to the field of history that revels in its eclecticism and highlights the inherent tensions and controversies that shape it. Designed for the classroom, Thinking About History is organized around big whose history do we write and how does that affect the stories get told and how they are told. How did we come to view the nation as the inevitable context for history, and what happens when we move outside of those boundaries? I'm not going to keep going. I know I want to read this. I'm very excited that it's on audio so I can actually listen to it. Oh, thank goodness. And then finally, I think the last one from that creator that I had marked. Actually, that's not true. There were more. That was just the last one from that day that I had screenshotted. So the next one from her that I had marked down was Silencing the Past. Yes, by placing the West's failure to acknowledge the most successful slave revolt in history alongside denials of the Holocaust and the debates over the Alamo, Michael Rolfe offers a stunning meditation on how power operates in the making and recording of history. I'm sorry, I can't say names. Okay, I don't think this is on audio. Let's try the author's name. Okay, I don't know if I'm gonna add this one to my TBR. I'm gonna leave the screenshot. Oh, actually, I will. It's a black author, which endears me to it more than if it was like a white author. The thing that would have stopped me from adding it is that, oh, he's dead. That's really sad. That it's older. It's from 95. So it's almost 30 years old at this point. So it's something that I feel like that tends to be a little bit more iffy, but since it is a black author, then I'm more willing to like take a chance on that. On that kind of subject. So there we go. That's okay. And that's added to my no audio. Okay. This next one. I think this one might already be on my TBR, but I'm going to double check. Femina? Yes, I did add it to my TBR, but I am going to add it to my 2023 TBR because this was already on my TBR, but somebody was talking about it, and now I want to prioritize it. Jurassic Mate. Called My Jurassic Mate. What the heck? But really quick about this one. Hildegard von Bingen is the blurb. The fiery life of divine substance. I blaze above the beauty of the fields. I shine in the waters. I burn in the sun and moon and stars. I was just really wanting to listen to some of her music because I'm not very familiar with it. Anyway, so yeah, this was already on my TBR, but that creator was talking about it and said it was really accessible way to learn about. Oh God. 4 unmated alien lizard men from each of the 3 warring tribes. 12 human women sent to live out the rest of their lives on the planet. You do the math. Oh my gosh. Okay. I feel conflicted, but I'm gonna do it anyway. And I'm just gonna assume that there's no audio, and I'll check that later. Thank you for the recommendation. The cover is ridiculous. Oh my gosh. I just okay. It's a lot, but I'm gonna give it a try maybe eventually. It sounds like a lot of characters, though. It feels very overwhelming. Done reading a true crime book, Helltown. I don't like true crime, but I'm glad you read it. I'm glad you liked it. I hope you liked it. You didn't actually say you liked it, but you said you got done reading it, so I assume you liked it since you finished it. Oh my gosh. Okay. Okay. The Bright Ages, A New History of Medieval Europe. Let's see this one. This one probably has an audio. Yeah, it does. Okay. I already know I'm just gonna add all of these from that recommendation because I know I'm interested. But I feel like if you want to add it, you can. I don't know if you want to read out the whole thing. It refutes common misinterpretations of European medieval ages, showing the beauty and communication that flourished alongside the dark brutality, a brilliant reflection of humanity itself. Okay, next one is a short history of the Middle Ages. And this is this is this first one. Oh, I bet I would be surprised if this has an audiobook. Yeah. And it feels like it probably wouldn't be very good on audio if there's like so much physical content. But you know what? I'm gonna just add it anyway, and we'll see how it goes. Eek. Oh no, I didn't mean to add it to that. No, stop it, I'm ruining everything. Whoops. Jesus Christ. You liked Helltown. Go. I'm glad you liked it. No. Okay. Medieval Europe, A Short History. No one is surprised. But also, let's just try the title and see what comes up. No. Okay. Oh no, not want to read. No audio. I'm just making more work for myself later when I'm gonna have to look it up again and be like, is there an audiobook for this? Oh, there's not? Now I'm really sad. Okay. Alrighty. Let's go back. I was really wanting to get those books on my TBR, so let's go back. Let's do 10 more minutes until the half hour. 10 more minutes of these books from Tantor. And then I'll call it a day for this stream because I'm starting to get a headache. Yes. I should start. I really need to add some like genres to my Goodreads because I don't have genres of anything on there. I hardly have any shelves on there, and it makes it hard to do like recommendations or find specific books. Okay. Jack Frost by Rebecca F. Kenny. Kenny. Emery is a climate activist and cinematographer filming in Antarctica. While there, she encounters Jack Frost, who saves her life. The last thing Emery wants is a charming stalker ice god screwing with her scientific view of the world, but she can't help being curious about Jack's ongoing war with the fire goddess, Oxia. Emery's association with Jack puts them both in more danger, even as they become emotionally and physically entangled. This book is a steamy romance based on mythical character Jack Frost, with an HEA and a number of favorite romance tropes, as well as themes of climate preservation and a holiday atmosphere. Doesn't that sound so fun? Well, on to the want to read it goes. Oh, what a delight. It's a mixture of true crime, history, movies. I would, yeah, and I'm like, true crime and movies, I would like never read it, either of those. I would read history books, but I'm just like, I like the majority of nonfiction that I've been reading this year has just been like science nonfiction, mostly like nature nonfiction. That has been my bread and butter the last couple of years, honestly. But I think that's pretty much been all I've read this year. Anyway, doesn't it sound so fun? Is that what you're saying, oh god, to Bruna? Because doesn't it sound so fun? It's called the Immortal Warriors romance series. And there's a ton of them! The Gargoyle Prince. It's set in alternate history steampunk France during the magical civil war. That sounds amazing. Okay, Wendy Darling, Captain Pan, Hades, Apollo. Okay. Amazing. That sounds so fun. I love it. Okay. Going on the TBR. Okay, the next one is Mad Immortal, and the author is Eric Walsh. I don't know anything that you're talking about, Bruna. I didn't know that there was a correlation. Jack Frost just makes me think of that Guardians movie, even though I've never seen that movie, so. But it makes me think of that Elsa Jack Frost, like, mashup nonsense. One hero's hopeless quest where Gloria may decide not only his own fate, but that of the entire realm. It's been 2 years since Nate abandoned his boring life on Earth to travel to another realm. 2 years of slaying monsters to level up his elemental powers. 2 years of longing to become a hero. So when one of the realm's immortal rulers betrays their kin, he vows to do whatever it takes to bring the renegade to justice. Sounds kind of boring. I don't really care. It's, I don't know. I feel like these are so hit or miss, like lit RPG books. And it doesn't sound interesting enough. Okay, let's try the next one. Game of Serfs by Michael Anderle, whatever. It was supposed to be a fun break while school was out for the semester. A chance meeting between Benjamin Drake and Marty Ambrose suggested potential for a great friendship. Both were with different groups of friends just outside of Moab. Both on their way to hike the mountains. But then things went horribly wrong. It's all Benjamin and Marty can do to stay alive when the earth opens beneath their feet and they're swallowed by the mountain. As a fire-spewing monster emerges and spreads its wings to bolt out of the mountain, Benjamin and Marty learn that the comfortable illusion of the world they knew is gone. Everything has changed. Depending on the other for every second of their survival, they reach for what looks like safety. Then their entire world comes undone. Again, doesn't sound interesting enough for me. Moving on to the next one. So this one is called The Grim Guys by Eric. Oh. Why is this not coming up? Eric Ungland. Maybe if I just look up the author's last name? Well, The Good Guys is coming up, but where's the Grim Guys? The Bad Guys? Weird. Yeah, I don't know why. Yeah, I don't know why it's not on Goodreads. Well, let's look at the first book in The Good Guys, because maybe this is a better place to start anyway. I love this cover, first of all. This is giving me such, I don't know, early video game vibes. Makes me want to play, like, some, I don't know, Castle of the Wind or something, although this is much better graphics than that. Makes me want to play King's Quest. A ruined life, a broken heart. He thought it was the end, and his gun sat ready to make sure. But an oddball offer from his last friend comes at the literal last second. Yeah, I don't want to read that. That sounds like he's about to kill himself at the beginning, and that sounds like that could be a little triggering for me, so, I will move on. Okay, this next one is Blooming Apocalypse by Asri. It's an action-packed lit RPG apocalypse. The elves took everything following a bloodied slaughter of her whole race, and struggling to stay alive, she had no choice but to survive on her own. That was until the world changed. Her entire planet, a whole cluster, was introduced to the vast universe by the system, or perhaps a god, a universe filled with endless beings and civilizations that fought for power and dominance. After the integration, Blair finds herself in a forest surrounded by unknown beasts, peril lurking alone. Alone and with nothing but the mentality to survive, she will have to get stronger in this new, unforgiving world of numbers and power. With nothing but the capability to get stronger, her distant dreams of revenge might become a reality. I don't know. It's really long, and that worries me. I do like that the main character is a female, I feel like a lot of times it's a man and then they're really, really sexist, and a major creep, but it's long and I don't really want to invest that much time into it for it not sounding like incredible, you know? This next one, I really like the title. It's called Assistant to the Villain by Hannah Nicole Mayer. What a fun, very retro, yes. Ugh, I really like this title. It has really high ratings. I know there's very few ratings, but very high ratings. Once Upon a Time meets The Office. What? Can you imagine? Um, it's a TikTok series turned novel. I'm very confused. About the sunshine assistant to an evil villain and their unexpected romance. Assistant wanted, notorious high-ranking villain seeks loyal, level-headed assistant for unspecified office duties, supporting staff for random mayhem, terror, and other dark things in general. Discretion is a must. Excellent benefits. With ailing family to support, Evie Sage's employment status isn't just important, it's vital. So when a mishap with Rendon's most infamous villain suggests a job offer, naturally she says yes. No job is perfect, of course, but even less so when you develop a teensy crush on your terrifying, temperamental, and undeniably hot boss. Don't find evil so attractive, Evie. Um, Ah, but just when she's getting used to severed heads suspended from the ceilings and the odd squish of errant eyeballs beneath her heel, Evie suspects this dungeon has a huge rat, and not the literal kind, because something rotten is growing in the kingdom of Rendon, and someone wants to take the villain and his entire nefarious empire out. That sounds really fun. I'm very excited. Heck yeah, going on my TBR. Ha! I'm confused. I don't know if it's written by the person that was making the TikTok series. I'm confused by that. Because like I totally understand like if you're making like a skit on TikTok and it does very well and then somebody writes like a book based off of like a fun idea, like I totally get that, but I don't know if it's like somebody who was making the skit like wrote a whole ass book, because that's very impressive, or if somebody else was like, I really love your idea, could I write the book? Either way, I'm still gonna give it a try. It sounds really fun. Assistant to the villain. Sounds really good. Okay, I still have a bunch of these left to do, so I think I'm gonna call it there. I'm just scrolling through to see if there are any of these that I'm like really want to make sure that I get on there. Okay, I really wanted to look up this one, so let me do this one really quick. Bored to Death by C.J. Connor. In a trendy Salt Lake City, Utah neighborhood, Ben's board game shop has become a community hotspot for players of all ages and for killer collectors. Back in his hometown of Sugar House, running his family's board game shop and cafe, Ben Rosenkratz just can't seem to get his life to pass go, much less collect 200. Once he was a happily married English professor in Seattle. Now he's a divorced caregiver looking after his ill father and a chihuahua named Beans, while still figuring out the rest of his still figuring out the rules of retail management. At least the town has become more LGBT friendly than when Ben was a teenager, and the flower shop owner, Ezra McCaslin, enjoys flirting with him. But despite his usual clientele of gamers, Ben is barely earning enough to keep the store running and stay on top of his father's medical bills. Then a local toy and game collector, Clive, offers him a winning strategy to purchase a turn of the 20th century edition of the landlord's game, the realty and taxation game that inspired Monopoly, at a tenth of the rare edition's true value. Suspicious of Clive's shady, low-priced deal, Ben turns the offer down. Then Clive turns up dead in the dumpster behind Ben's shop, and a backpack full of $100 bills appears on his doorstep. Now Ben is the #1 suspect of Clive's death, and unless he and Esbjerg can prove his innocence and find the real killer, then he'll go to jail for murder, and no amount of double dice rolls will set him free. Doesn't that sound so good? Oh, it sounds so good. I saw the cover and I read like the first sentence and I was like, okay, screenshot, I will add this to my TBR most likely. And yes, it sounds incredible. Want to read. Expected publication August 22nd. And I definitely want to make sure I want to read this one this year. Sounds amazing. Obsessed. And it's like queer, and the thing that instantly made me want to read this one as well is that I saw the board game, but then also he's wearing a little like gay watch, so love that. Anyway, so that's one. Okay, so those were the top ones from the rest of everything that was right there, but I still have like literally hundreds of books that I could add to my TBR that are on here, so I need to keep doing that. Not today, I'm too tired, but I will keep doing that, and eventually maybe I will get my screenshots to be less than, I mean, it's also like pictures that I take, but I have like 2,000 screenshots right now, and granted, they're not all books, but like I would say over 50% of them are books that I need to add to my TBR, so it's a problem. It's a really big problem. Anyway, thank you for hanging out with me today. I really appreciate it. I know, I already said, but I appreciate your support and your love and continuing to want to come and see what I'm up to, and I'm happy to do any sort of like Q&A if you have any questions for like what's been going on in life and everything. But next week, Sunday at 12 p.m. EST, I'm gonna try to do a stream and continue doing some like online book organizing and Goodreads organizing, and when the Magical Readathon prompts come out, I'm also going to try to do a stream to plan my readathon TBR then as well. But this was really fun, and I really appreciate you hanging out with me, and I will see you all in a week, and I'm going to try to make this a weekly thing. I try to stream once a week if I can, if I'm not like out of town or have something else going on. So I appreciate it. You guys are the best. You all are the best. I love you and appreciate you, and I will see you in a week. Happy reading and happy just relaxing and living your life, and I hope that you just have the best and least stressful week that is available to you. Take good care of yourself. Bye, everyone.